Welcome, everybody, to Pseudo Short number 9 for May 12th, 2017. And it's me, Josh Kaiser, joined also by Josh Haddix.
Dude, for a second I thought you were going to say it's me and Josh Kaiser. I was like, oh, God, this guy's a little full of himself.
Well, you know, what can I say? And today, for those of you who don't know, the Pseudo Short, of course, is our little mini podcast we do on our off weeks, somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes long, that usually does not, it's usually over a topic that just does not have enough time for us to denote enough time to spend an hour and a half or whatever on. So, today we're actually going to be discussing the Secret Empire comic book, issue number 0 and 1, as well a little bit of the prelude leading up to it. This, of course, is the sort of the new big comic book event that Marvel's doing. Probably their biggest event they've done since Civil War II. I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, probably. Although probably bigger. I feel like this is their response to how well DC Comics has been doing lately. They figured they needed to mix it up a little bit, and this is that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, so this is sort of a big crossover series. The issue number 1 just came out, I believe, on May 3rd, if I read that right. So it's really new. There's, I think, going to be 9 issues. I guess 10 if you include 0. Okay, yeah. So yeah, with issue 0, which we included 5 minutes ago because we may have forgotten that one.
Which is very crucial, by the way.
Yeah. So if you go online and you buy the comics, you go to the store and you read the Prelude and you read issue 1, you may want to read issue 0 because there's a lot of good information there that helps tie everything together. That said, from what I did read, this is the last big kind of event that Marvel's going to do for about a year and a half in the comic books. I know we don't talk comic books a whole lot, but we're trying to implement a little bit more of that into our, pseudo nerdiness. And what we'll probably do is we're going to just break down kind of issue 0-1, the Prelude a little bit, give our thoughts on it. And then after the 9th issue is released, sometime in August, I don't have the date in front of me right now, I think it's late August, sometime late August or maybe the 1st September or something, we'll probably do a full 90-minute show on the entire event overall. And then on top of the main 10 issues, there are a bunch of tie-in issues from, like, if you read, X-Men comic book or an Avengers comic book or Guardians or Deadpool, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a bunch of tie-in issues as well, which, kind of have little events that are going on during the main overall Secret Empire story. So, before we get into the story itself, Haddix, what did you think of just about the, kind of the animation, the artist work and the writing direction, I guess?
I honestly thought it's been pretty good. The animation itself, I don't think is anything new or mind-blowing, although it is good.
I'm a little up and down. I feel like some panels I look at and I'm like, wow, that looks awesome. And then other panels I'm kind of like, it looks very generic at times.
Yeah, and I wonder if that just, when you do these types of huge story arcs like this, the amount of characters that are in these comics are insane. And I feel like constantly drawing all of them over and over again would be a very tedious job.
Well, I go to Civil War II, and while I thought the story and the Civil War itself was kind of meh, I thought the illustrations were phenomenal. And I think, looking at this one, and it just didn't appeal. I don't know, the style or something didn't appeal greatly to me. That said, from some of the reviews I was reading, it's been well praised in the illustrations. So maybe it's just my personal taste too. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has their own, different, artists draw different characters differently, and everyone always has their favorite of what they like or whatever. So that's always. I don't pay as much attention to that as the storyline personally.
Right, and well, that said, let's just kind of get into the story. You know, it is a short, so we can't sit here just kind of chatting about whatever. The story, obviously, probably the most important part. And so far, I think it's some of the best written comics that I've had the pleasure of reading. I think it's really setting up well. You know, I guess the premise, and for those of you who might be getting ready to read this or don't want it spoiled, then, you know, here's a little spoiler warning. The big premise is Captain America is now the supreme leader of Hydra. So he's I saw a nickname online for him right now. They're calling him Stevel, as in Steve and evil.
Evil Steve.
Yeah. So I kind of like that. But basically, these cosmic cubes, which I was trying to remember, did they bring up the cosmic cubes in Civil War II? At some point, that's what they were going. I feel like I remember hearing about the term cosmic cube recently, and I couldn't remember if that's where it was from or not.
You know, that's a good question. I don't recall. I do not recall.
Well, anyways, there's these cubes, and they're supposed to have been destroyed, but S.H.I.E.L.D., of course, kept them, and were basically using them to... These cubes are able to alter reality, and they were altering the realities of all these supervillains and whatnot, and they were living in a society together. And the cosmic cube itself kind of took on the form of a young girl. It started becoming self-aware, I guess, for lack of a better word. And needless to say, it sort of blew up in their face, and there's a lot going on. And at the end of the day, Red Skull is sort of controlling the young girl, and the young girl is able to basically alter reality, and she altered Captain America's memories to think he was raised as a Hydra agent. And now it's sort of the fallout from all of that. So, you know, what are your initial thoughts?
Probably one of my favorite comic book arcs I've read so far. And I mean, I guess to give some people background, we read the Prelude, which is, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 different comics from different, there's some from Captain America, there's some from Avengers, and they combined them because it kind of led up to Secret Empire. So these are kind of taken from everywhere, but I was hooked. I didn't want to stop reading. You know,
I agree.
I wanted to find out what was happening. And I know you're like me. We don't really read Marvel comics on a, day-to-day basis. We're not going out every month or every week. So there's a lot of things I didn't know. One, I didn't know Red Skull had mind-altering capabilities himself. He can make people do almost like Professor X. I think he even mentions that in one of the panels.
Yes, he does. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. And I don't think that's anything did they touch on that in the first Civil War? I feel like they wasted the Red Skull villain in the first Civil War Captain America movie. I feel like he could have been utilized a lot better.
And I don't know if that's something that's happened recently in the comics. Maybe they've given him this power. But the point I was kind of trying to get to was between that and with Zemo's character, even though he kind of seemed like a flunky, the villains in the comics are way better than they are portrayed in the movies. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
this has been amazing.
Yes, I agree completely. And, we always kind of the villains in the Marvel movies have never been, well, for the most part, have not been that great. But they're very well written so far, especially in this story arc. And I guess, we should, getting into the actual first couple issues of Secret Empire. Basically, you've got, the overall story is you got Captain America here, and he's running Hydra as an evil, Hydra leader. But what I find interesting is he is still kind of, for being kind of bred with this Hydra background, he still seems to be fighting some moral dilemmas of that. He thinks it's almost like he thinks certain things are wrong. So they want to make a example out of this hacker, Rick Jones, right? I think is his name.
Yep.
And they want him to be killed because he's getting into Hydra databases and releasing information. It's almost like an Ed Snowden kind of thing. And you can see Captain America is almost hesitant on all that kind of stuff, and they eventually do kill him. which is kind of like a, for a couple panel thing and a character that's not, major. I thought they did a good job of like really kind of showing the emotion in that death, and like, with the Rick Jones yelling "Avengers Assemble" right before he's killed. Yeah. But I mean, do you agree with that? Do you think that there's some of that Captain America's like kind of, there's like a moral dilemma going on inside of him?
Yeah.
Like he almost is fighting it somehow, but not?
I feel like, I guess if he does, or I guess we assume that at the end of this, he's going to kind of break out of this thing, or maybe they continue with it. I don't know. But if he does, they almost kind of give you the idea that he's going to break out of it on his own, and he's going to realize, like, God, this is wrong. Like what we're doing is wrong, even though he's been brainwashed to do it. So yeah, you kind of get that feeling like he's really battling with it, even though he thinks it's right because that's what he was, taught.
That's what his like memories showed that it was right. But yeah, I mean, even like Sharon Carter, who's like that's the same woman who plays. That's Agent like Carter? The love interest in. Well, no, it's Agent Carter's like niece or something, right? She's the one who's in Civil War and Captain America 2 and stuff like that. You know that actress, the one from like she was in Revenge and stuff. That's Sharon as well, right? In the movies,
I think so.
But like that's his love interest now, and even in the comic there, she's like, you're not yourself. I don't agree with this, and he like you could tell he still cares about her, but he like is fighting that because he's like, oh, you need to come to our side and see where we're at. So he's not a total. It's not like he flipped a switch and he's like this just ungodly, tyrannical leader or anything like that. It's like it's Captain America running it as though Hydra was right all along.
Yeah. He's not like walking around shooting people in the head and stuff. Like,
right.
He's it's like you said. He's almost like Captain America, but if he thought Hydra was
thought Hydra was the right thing, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm very interested in this story so far, and then of course I like how they've put this protective shield around the entire planet, and in some ways it might sound cheesy, but I think it's a way for them to like, okay, we need to get rid of a lot of potential the heavy hitters, the potential like, if this were real, like why wouldn't you call on so and so or this person or whatever? This way you kind of like eliminate all those, like Carol Danvers is stranded out. They're all basically stranded outside of Earth right now. So it's a nice way to eliminate a lot of characters.
Yeah. It would remind me if like something like this happened in the DC universe. They would have sent Superman, Wonder Woman, like all these big players out into space because they would go out into space if something happened.
Sure, right.
To whereas like a Batman couldn't go into space, and then it helps you kind of tell the story a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean it's a way to, and I think they probably want to involve a certain percentage in certain names of characters, and like, all right, can we get rid of some of these people so we can kind of just focus, instead of having 500 characters, now they have like 20 or 25 characters that they can focus this story arc on. And then of course you've got your underground heroes that don't believe in all this Hydra propaganda, and that's kind of led Spider-Man is one of the major players there, and then Tony Stark is there kind of. He's like in this. Do you understand what that he was like some sort of
I don't
non-physical
so I don't know.
Form of himself.
Yeah, he's like a hologram. He's almost like Jarvis, but in like a semi, not even a body, but hologrammed body or something. I don't know. So again, this is kind of the downside of we don't really, read all these comics just on a day-to-day basis. But I know like the Hulk in this is the Chinese guy. It's not.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a different Hulk, right?
Yeah. So is the Spider-Man. It's not Peter Parker.
Yeah, it's that other guy. I can't.
So it's like, right, and I know they did all that like to try to become like more hip and fresh. So they kind of like redid some of their characters, which I think kind of had some backlash. But yeah, a lot of these characters are either people we don't know playing the heroes we're used to, or a lot of the people I don't even recognize some of them that they even have in here.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the one page open right now. So you've got, of course, I just clicked off of it by accident when I went to click on that page. You've got in the Avengers, Deadpool, Scarlet Witch, Vision, Taskmaster, Black Ant, Superior Octopus, and Odinson. Hydra has Captain America, Zemo, Madam Hydra, Hive, Zola, and a few others. And then, of course, probably the heroes right now is like you said, the Chinese Hulk, Hawkeye and Widow, which, by the way, Black Widow and Hawkeye, how about the love interest there?
Yeah, seriously, yeah. And again, don't know where that's from, but...
Well, I was doing a little reading. That seems to be something new they threw in there, so that's not something that we missed out on the comic books, because I was reading on the Marvel subreddit, and that was one of the things people are like, anybody else pay attention to the fact that Black Widow and Hawkeye, like, had a little love thing going on? So we'll see where that goes. And then you've got Ironheart, Spider-Man, Wasp, The Thing, Giant Man, Ant-Man, and then the AI Tony Stark. So we'll see. And then, of course, Captain Marvel is exiled right now, basically outside planet Earth, as well as Doctor Strange is stuck in the dark dimension right now. So that's kind of where they put a lot of those characters. So, it's a focus on a bunch of random characters, some that you're familiar with, some that you're not. But it's like I said, the story has just it's really enticed me. Starting with the Prelude, you really need to read. I recommend the Prelude heavily. I think to start. I don't think you start with that issue 0 on this. I think you need to read the whole build up to it.
Unless for some reason you read Marvel comic books all the time and you've already read them all.
Oh, sure, right,
but,
absolutely.
But yeah, no, the Prelude, I feel like got if we'd have started at issue 0 and 1, I don't think we would have been as emotionally invested. Like the Prelude it really kind of gets you up there and gets you like, oh my God, this happens, and then it's really good, really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, explaining the whole way, like for me, it was almost like kind of a mind blowing moment when Captain America joined Hydra. Like I didn't know I had no spoilers going into it. I didn't know that this is what was going on. I didn't know that was the premise that he joins Hydra. So when that happened, I was like, whoa, what? And then you see like the whole background and how it happens. I thought it was really well written, that whole build up for him.
Yeah, they did the writing very well with what they revealed when they revealed it.
Exactly. Yes, I thought it was. I think the direction has been very well done in that regards. Couldn't agree more there. And as far as where it goes from here, we'll see. Obviously, the main premise of the first issue is looks like just a random boy who's like kind of he was on the internet and somehow got in contact with Spider-Man and a couple of the other let's call them the heroes for the moment, and he basically tells him that he's got information on this flash drive that he got from the doctor who is the doctor who sort of worked with the cosmic cube incarnation of this girl. And apparently he has information on this flash drive that, if in the right hands, would help them get back Captain America's mind.
Yeah, it's Eric Selvig from Thor and Avengers.
Oh, I didn't even put that 2 and 2 together. I forgot that guy's name. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's the same doctor.
So, you bring that up, and we kind of talked about this before we were recording, but Thanos is kind of the big villain going forward in the movie universe. That it's coming up, and then in the soon to be near future, anyways. After that story arc's done, I'm sure they do have plans, but they don't really have anything set in stone from what we know. But I tell you what, this, assuming depending, this story could crap out in 2 or 3 issues. We'll see where it goes from here. But I can definitely see this getting turned into a story arc to be done in the movies.
Oh, God, dude. So I think that this would be – and obviously it couldn't be the exact same because there's too many heroes. And, there's all this stuff with contractually
oh, sure. I mean, you would put maybe Black Panther in here instead. He's not – certain guys that are already kind of out there, sure.
And I don't know what's going to happen with like God, what's the actor that plays Captain America right now?
Chris Evans?
Yeah, Chris Evans. Like, I know that, his contract doesn't have him playing Captain America in too many more movies. So, I don't know how it would all work with that. But if they adapted this somehow, I think this could be a good, like, follow-up to, because Thanos is almost going to be like this culmination of all these movies.
Right.
And if you come back after that with crap, it's just going to blow up in your face. You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Oh my God, they're done.
Yeah.
I think this could really be something very different than just a big bad villain that could really, really like grab people's attention. This has been an amazing read so far. I'm very excited to see how it ends.
Yeah, and I got to be honest. This is the first time I've ever gotten into a series, like a comic series or an event or anything like this, as it initiated. So I'm going to be like looking forward like issue by issue, like they're going to come out every 2 weeks. So to me, it's like, it's kind of a new concept for me to be like, it's almost like a television show where like, I can't wait for the next episode, where typically in the past, I just wait till it's already been out for a year and I just read the whole, graphic novel or whatever.
You just buy it all. Basically how we did with Civil War 2.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah. So this is going to be interesting for me to kind of see it. And what I really, I'm more interested in this kind of stuff now, between the television shows, all the Marvel stuff, the television shows, the movies, the Netflix shows, all that. Like, there's characters and things like the Darkhold that's mentioned in here. Like, that's a big story in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. currently. Meanwhile, you saw Baby Groot was in it, the thing. So the way they kind of put some of that stuff into this is really enjoyable for me, as just a fan of, I wasn't a big fan of the comics in general. I was a fan of the movies and the television and the cartoons and that kind of thing. So for them to tie it together, I mean, Marvel's really, they're grasping at my wallet in every way they can.
They really are, because this is good stuff.
Yeah, I can't agree more. That said, one moment that sticks out for me in all this, what did you think about old Steve Rogers when they like made him like an old man?
Oh, he was like an old guy and everyone was cracking all those jokes. You know what the thing that stuck out to me the most? I did not know that Falcon could talk to birds.
Yeah, I didn't either. That was bizarre.
And I don't know if that's something that it's just been the case ever since the character came out, and they just didn't put it in the movie, because my knowledge of him is the movie, basically.
Sure, right.
But like when he was like, God, normally I can talk to birds, but nothing's happening. I was like, oh, well, I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, there's definitely some moments there. I will say this, the couple stories, there was some humor in this, but I would say it was a little more serious, where I felt Civil War II had more jokes than this one did around. And not to say that's not a negative thing. I think the jokes were well timed in this one, but it's definitely a more serious tone overall.
Yeah, and I think that like kind of plays out, especially when Secret Empire starts. But yeah, definitely a way more serious tone, and maybe that's what makes it like real attention grabbing. Like I could not put this down. I flew through reading all this. Yeah,
I mean, it's definitely, I will probably go back and read it again, because I did read it fast, but like you said, I was like, okay, I need to know what's happening next. Exactly. What's happening next? I'm actually, like I said, I'm sitting here waiting on issue 2 to come out, and now I got to wait a week and a half at least to see it from our recording here. So really hooked on it. I highly recommend it to anybody who's into the Marvel universe. I would say, even if you're just into the movies or television shows, something like that, I think you can get a lot of enjoyment out of this whole series. And like I said, we're going to be breaking down the full event, at least the Secret Empire 10-issue run. Come sometime, I don't have the date in front of me, but sometime late August, maybe 1st of September or so, after the final issue is released. So, Haddix, what do you think? Any you recommend it as well?
Oh yeah, if you're a fan of, I think it could even be, if you're just a fan of the movies but you really like the characters, I think you would actually even, I mean, unless you absolutely despise comic books for some reason, but if you don't mind reading comics and you love Marvel characters, I think you would really, really enjoy this. And if you like comics and you're like me, but you're not a huge Marvel person, I think you'd still like this, because it's really, really good. Very, very good.
Yeah, I mean, this could always, like I said, it could always turn around. I thought, like, for instance, I thought Civil War II was decent for a while, and I thought they kind of just, the ending sort of just fell flat. So this very well could turn around and do that. Who knows? But I will say, just in general, I thought this writing has been better than any writing I've read in a while in a comic book. So I've got high hopes that it's just going to continue to be very enjoyable all the way through.
Yeah, as do I.
That's basically going to be it for our review. It looks like we're both on board, and we recommend it to anybody out there. Any other final thoughts that we might have missed, or a moment, or anything that you want to bring attention to?
Oh, I can't think of any. I mean, we'll definitely get more in depth in our 90-minute one, but I can't think of any.
The only thing I'll add is, you might think Hydra running the show is a bad thing, but they made a mention, I think it was in issue 1, that like the stock market was climbing, unemployment was down. There's a lot of positives under the Hydra influence, so maybe life's not so bad if Hydra are running the show, as long as you just buy into the
Hail Hydra, right?
Hail Hydra.
In the words of Steve Rogers, Hail Hydra.
That's right. So yeah, that's gonna be our show this week. If you guys have been reading it, let us know your feedback. Reach to us on Twitter or Facebook at Pseudo Nerd Pod or the Pseudo Nerd Podcast on Facebook. And always don't forget to subscribe to us on iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating. And join us next week. We will be talking Marvel a little bit more, but we will be breaking down the big hit Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Spoiler alert, I loved it. I'm probably going to go try to watch it again one more time. But we will be talking about that next week in our full 90-minute breakdown. From the Great Lakes to the Great Lakes, I am Josh Kaiser. He is Josh Haddix, and we will see you guys next time.
Have a good Friday.